Good morning, everyone. It's Pablo Zuanic, equity analyst at Zuanic and Associates, covering the cannabis sector. We have a distinguished panel this morning to discuss the Minnesota cannabis market. We have four speakers. We have Amber Shimpa. She's the president at Vireo Growth. We have Zachery Wilson, CEO of Waabigwan Mashkiki. We have Tim Gordon. He's the founder and CEO of Gordon Cannabis. And we have Jason Tarasek. He's a partner at Vicente LLP. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for taking the time this morning to the speakers.
Good morning, Pablo.
So, look, I mean, just for the audience of you listening in, as usual, we don't take live questions with your voice, but you can email them to me. You can put them on the chat room here in Zoom. You can put them on the bubble in X, and we'll do our best to go through them. But let's start with introductions here first. Please, tell us about your personal trajectory in the cannabis space, about your company, your business in Minnesota specifically. Let's start with Amber, please.
Thank you, and good morning. Amber Shimpa, again, I'm president of Vireo Growth, and Vireo Growth was founded in 2014. We had an early track record of winning medical licenses and merit-based application processes. Most recently, last December, we started transforming our business with some new leadership, capital raise and acquisitions in Missouri, in Utah, and Nevada. And most recently, our latest M&A has us in Colorado, New Mexico now too. We consciously put together solid businesses and teams and then look to empower them at the local level. The most important part of our business, in my opinion, to me, is the area I get to lead, and that's our people, our local leaders, and really leaning into unit level leadership here at Vireo. I've been with Vireo since inception here in Minnesota for 11 years now. I've held a few positions with the company over the years, including starting as our first CFO, serving as our chief administrative officer, and now I currently serve as our president. Prior to Vireo, I was in banking for 9 years, both investment banking and commercial lending. I primarily worked on the real estate and business banking side of lending. I'm born and raised in northwestern Minnesota here, living and working in the Twin Cities now for over 25 years. And as a local, Vireo's Minnesota market remains obviously like nearest and dearest to me. Here in Minnesota, we have 8 retail stores, and all 8 have been serving medical and adult use customers since September 16th. And prior to that, we were proudly serving Minnesota patients for the past 10 years. A little bit about our stores. 5 of our stores are located in the Twin Cities metro market, and 3 of our stores are strategically located in key markets outside of the metro, including Moorhead, which borders North Dakota, Rochester, and the Duluth Hermantown market. So with the adult use market growing daily and over 64,000 active patients in the state, our Minnesota team has been very busy. So thanks again for having me today, Pablo.
That's great. Thank you, Amber. Zachery, go ahead, please. Thank you.
Zach Wilson. I'm the CEO for Waabigwan, Mashkiki, and White Earth House of Brands. White Earth was the very first non-native business to be able to go off-reservation. This is the first time this has ever happened in the country. So White Earth's very proud of that, to be able to have a compact that allowed them to keep their sovereignty off-reservation, as well as be able to service the needs of the state as well. But the business, Waabigwan, has been around for about 4 years now. They started off in medical, just on reservation at White Earth, and then within the last 6 months, we were able to then get that compact finalized, and we were able to launch that first off-reservation store here about 6 months ago. So between that, I've been cannabis all over the country, for the largest MSOs to boutique for the last 10 years. So a lot of experience in that world, but prior to that, obviously, a lot more experience in private equity specifically. I was a marketing relations strategist for many years in the gaming industry, and then also in the LED lighting space, manufacturing space, where we were the largest OEM and ODM for Philips in Europe and Asia. So kind of touch all different industries, and it's kind of brought me where I am now.
That's great. Thank you. Before we go on to Tim, just one question for you, Zach. So in the case of your stores, when did you start serving the rec market?
We started serving them in May. I believe it was May 20th. We had our compact signed, and we had stores opened the 22nd.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see everyone, and thanks very much, Paulo. My name is Tim Gordon. I founded Gordon Cannabis Group. I've been in the industry quite a while, opened my first dispensary back in 2007 in Colorado, and have worked across the globe in that respect in different aspects of cannabis, from cultivation to executive leadership. We specialize right now on connecting cannabis and making cannabis optimized through smart business decisions. What I take a very strategic approach to the industry. I keep a really clear crystal ball on what's happening. And it's really what I like about working up in Minnesota with the Fond du Lac. They share a really strong vision of the cannabis industry. And share a strong vision in itself is to be not the biggest in the industry, but to simply be the best. That's where I really come in. I like optimization. I strive to be the best. And it's really an honor for me to be working up in Minnesota with the Fond du Lac, building a non-native cannabis with them. We have a great retail location and opening several more, a state-of-the-art live soil cultivation that is the premium of craft cannabis in the state, and really just enjoy what we do, really making people successful, being smart, strategic, and profit-driven.
Thank you. I know we'll dig deeper into all these things, but Tim, are the assets in Minnesota already operational?
They are. Yeah. We opened our first retail location the end of May. We have a really wonderful scaled indoor live cultivation facility I built out in a really short amount of time. We had a really great outdoor season this year as well.
Right. Thank you. Jason, on to you.
Thank you, Pablo. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jason Tarasek. I'm a partner with the Vicente firm. I live and work in South Minneapolis. I serve as the Minnesota office for Vicente. We've got several dozen employees scattered throughout the country, most of them in Denver and Boston. We have many folks at the firm dedicated purely to Minnesota. It has been really an honor to work with our entrepreneurs as they launch their adult use cannabis operations here, including working with our tribal nations. So Tim and I work together with the Fond du Lac tribe. We just very, very recently finalized a compact for them. Very excited to see what they're going to do with that. It just provides tremendous opportunities for the tribal nation, not just Fond du Lac, but to my knowledge, 10 of the 11 Minnesota tribes are planning on working on compacts. And it's just, they're only scratching the surface right now in terms of what they can accomplish in the market. So it's super exciting for me. I have been a lawyer in Minnesota for more than 20 years. I started in the cannabis space in 2018 as a citizen lobbyist, pushing for adult use legalization, very Don Quixote-like. The legislature turned blue in 2018, and so we actually did get a hearing on a bill in 2019. I'm sorry, it didn't turn completely blue. The House turned blue. And the Republicans gave us a hearing on a legalization bill when I was a lobbyist for the Marijuana Policy Project in April 2019. That bill failed on a party line vote, but generated a lot of news coverage. And Democrats obviously recognized, and frankly, some Republicans recognized how important it was to their constituents. So we were ready when the legislature turned completely blue in 2022 and legalized in 2023. And yes, that's almost 2.5 years ago, but yes, we're finally rolling out licenses now. It's been a bit of a rocky, I'm being kind, it's been a bit of a rocky rollout, but now a lot of my clients are actually getting licensed. We've got several dozen clients here in Minnesota in all of the tiers: cultivation, manufacturing, growing. Excited to see them launch and follow their dreams, and hopeful that the worst is behind us and that 2026 at least will actually be able to stock some product on the shelves, because a lot of our dispensaries simply don't have a lot to sell right now.
Right. So let me stay with you there, Jason. So just talk about the licenses that are being issued. I mean, obviously, I can go to the website of the commissioner there, the regulator, but tell us the different types, especially around retailing, around caps, and then cultivation in terms of numbers and what's been issued so far.
Yeah, so we have, there are lots of unique features of the cannabis bill. Obviously, expressly authorizing the state to enter into compacts with tribal nations was one unique feature. Another unique feature was what a low barrier of entry we erected for folks to enter the cannabis business. So We have various uncapped licenses, such as the micro business, which is a vertically integrated license type. It allows you to grow, manufacture, and sell. The application for that license was very simple. If you had $500, essentially you got it. And there are more than 1,000 micro business applicants in the queue that potentially could become licensees. I don't think all of them will. A lot of them are falling to the wayside as they realize how difficult or expensive or both this industry is. But we have several capped license types, including bulk cultivation, retail, manufacturing, and the meso business license type, which is, in addition to the micro, the meso is the only vertically integrated license type. So that would allow you also to grow, manufacture, and sell at 3 retail locations. The micro gives you 1 retail location. So, the market is still sorting itself out. Like I said, we do not have enough cultivators, at least in the OCM license pipeline, to stock the shelves yet. I'm hoping that as people begin growing indoors this fall and winter, that there actually will be some product available. But for now, our 2 medical providers, and Amber can speak to this, have a tremendous opportunity because they obviously have been growing for years and they have entered the adult use market. And tribal nations like Zach's and Tim's, they have a great opportunity to feed this market niche right now because it's been a long story, but we don't have many OCM licensed entities growing yet.
Right. But just staying with you, Jason, so on the retail side, and I understand that retail can be, irrelevant if there's no cultivation, but so there's 150 retail licenses, right? 75 social equity, so 75 non-social equity. And then on top of that, there's an uncapped number of micro business retail licenses. I'm just trying to get a sense from you in terms of how many stores do you think we may have by end of 25, end of 26? Is there a cap on the number of retail stores for the tribal cannabis licenses?
Well, speaking to the OCM licensed portion for now, I mean, it's possible that we can have 2,000 dispensaries open. I mean, that's highly unlikely.
Yeah.
We don't need nearly that many. We probably need like 25% of that. And like I said, I think there's a lot of sifting and winnowing happening. A lot of folks who thought that this is going to be easy. Like I said, they intended. I think a lot of the micro business applicants intended to open a dispensary,
right?
But the numbers aren't going to work for everybody. And we, the free market is going to do the adjustments for us. And frankly, it's been a bit rough for some of my clients to see that the market opportunities they thought would exist, and frankly, the investment they thought would flow to them, is just not happening. It's really rough out there, as I'm sure your other guests can attest. But in addition to that, assuming all the other tribal nations finalize their compacts and assuming they all look kind of the same, that's another potential 80 retail locations that the tribal nations, through tribal enterprises with or without private partners, that could be open. So we will see. Like I said, the free market will decide. They're going to pick the winners and losers. But
yeah,
I'm worried we will have way too many dispensaries, at least in the short term, especially given the product concerns. It will be rough.
Yeah. Thank you. Look, I mean, for the audience, we want to stay here on the topic of regulations because obviously there's a lot of details to cover. I'll come to you, Amber, in 1 second, but let me go to Zach first. Zach, if you can talk to, I'm going to read some of these questions to you here. Is Minnesota different from other states in the role it has given to tribal nations in its cannabis program? How many stores are going to be allowed to have now and in the future, only in tribal land? If you can clarify that for the audience. Can outside operators open dispensaries in tribal land? Do you have any caps on cultivation or production? Can you supply other stores? Do your stores also sell third-party product? If you can touch on some of those points, Zach. Thank you.
For sure. So as far as Minnesota being different for tribal nations, well, absolutely. This is literally the very first time in the country anything like this has ever been done. California, as well as Nevada, have had cannabis compacts as well with tribes, but never to this degree. In the sovereignty component, that's a very, very big piece. That this is the first time a state regulatory, body has allowed a sovereign entity to work hand in hand with each other, opposed to it being one way. So it's very unique, very one of a kind, and historical all the way around. But next to that, how many stores? Yes, 8. Jason touched on that. We will have 8 available. Currently, we've got 5, 3 under construction, 2 that are open, and then we've got 3 more that we plan on having procured here in the next 2 months. So 8 in total. Waabigwan will have, and then as far as outside operators and dispensaries coming onto tribal land. It is a possibility. I would say it would be a very rare scenario to happen. Typically, anybody that's working on the reservation or doing any business there is going to be a tribal member or affiliated somehow, opposed to fee land that they would just be willing to lease to that. But every tribe is very different. Everyone has a very different business model and thought process on that. So that can be a little confusing sometimes, because every tribe is its own government. But caps on cultivation and production, we do not. So anything on reservation, we do not have caps of any kind. We have to go, again, meet or beat state regulations. So there's no quality control parameters or anything that the tribes have that are any different than the state. So we still have to go by the same testing and compliance and regulatory. Which is a great thing. But we do not have caps as far as material or what we can grow, what we can't. And then lastly, can we supply other stores? We are doing that. We were able to do that with 2 stateside licensees, the very first 2 non-medical, and both of those are supplied by us right now. And again, you can imagine the amount of people reaching out trying to get material is pretty crazy. But we're trying to vet as quickly as possible, trying to make sure that we can supply those that do need it, and make sure that we don't overpromise and underdeliver. We're very focused on being able to keep our vertical business model and high quality products in inventory. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at the moment.
Right. Thank you. And Amber, I'm sorry, I'll come back in 1 second. But Tim, I'm not saying that your model in Minnesota is similar to Zach, but maybe for the audience, it sounds like it's similar. And if you can touch on, just on the regulatory side of things that apply to you, and where are you right now in terms of being able to supply third-party stores?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very similar to Zach. Just I would say a more of a craft setup that we are approaching the industry with. On the regulatory side, yeah, we are bound by the state off sovereign land. If we do want to transact with any of the current licensees or to-be licensees, we are open to doing that. We do, follow the metric, much like everybody else is going to be required to. So the opportunity is there. Compliance-wise, there's a few very specific idiosyncrasies of working with tribal organizations that folks will need to discuss and have an understanding of in regards to how to move product from and to tribal and sovereign lands. But overall, we are operating independently, but off sovereign land, we are operating on the guidance of the state and the OCM and the requirements around metric, track, and trace.
Right. And just one question there. I read this, but maybe I'm mistaken. I know there's no interstate trading cannabis, but can you move product from tribal land in Minnesota to tribal land in say, South Dakota legally and sell it there?
It's an interesting question. That's probably better for Jason to field or something like that.
I was about to advise you not to answer that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's say that is a interesting subject, Pablo.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that is not recommended.
Okay, it's not okay. Got it. Let's just leave it there then.
It's still a federally illegal substance.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. No. I understand what's. Yeah. What. Yeah. I mean, for. Yeah. Of course. All right, Amber. I'm going to read some more questions here for you. Explain the rules that apply to the medical incumbents as you participate in the recreational market. Are you buying product at your 8 stores from other suppliers, including from tribal nations? are you in a position to supply third-party stores? Let's start with that, Amber. Thank you.
Sure. So, we applied for and were awarded a license called a medical combination business license, and it allows us to grow and manufacture and sell both medical and adult use cannabis. The license type provides for the 8 retail locations, which I previously mentioned, and then additional locations for growing and manufacturing. The license also allows what's considered the vertical integration, which you've heard the crew talk about here, which includes transportation and wholesaling both medical and AU products to other licensed businesses and tribal businesses. And then under the license type, we're allowed a canopy of a total of 90,000 square feet, with 60,000 designated to medical, and then 30,000 of that designated to adult use. Now, I think you asked, are we buying product from other suppliers? We carry some products from the other licensed med combo business currently at Rise. And we look forward to carrying additional brands and products from other Minnesota suppliers, and including tribal, once folks are up and running with supply. You heard Jason allude to the lack of supply here in the market. And then as far as us supplying other third-party stores, I'll say this, it's been 6 weeks since we commenced adult use sales, and we continue to review and assess our ability to do so, because the limitation on our license and our ability to allocate a fraction of our products to adult use does require us to be pretty prudent here. I've long advocated in the state for the med combo license and lifting the limitations that can be addressed for the good of the emerging supply constrained market. I can't wait to engage in a meaningful way with new retail licenses and share a robust wholesale menu. I think Zach and Tim alluded to that as well. We just right now, we have product that's ready. It's sitting on the medical side of the license where demand is not enough. And so we do look forward to being in a position where we can offer and engage in that with other license holders.
Right. And only if you can answer, Amber, given supply shortages, do you anticipate the regulator to lift the cap on your recreational production at some point?
We believe the regulator has some ability to address this, but they are also beholden to Chapter 342 provisions. And this is an ongoing discussion with all stakeholders in the state on the supply side. And it's an important one that needs to be addressed here because of the constraints. I don't think it was the intent of a legislator, as an example, to license new retailers in the market and there be no product available for them to carry. That's really harming the folks that the state was looking to lift up. I think the likelihood of new local cannabis retailers surviving decreases the longer market goes without supply.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Amber, I want to stay with you in terms of, we want to move the discussion now to the operational side of things. In terms of what you can share, if you can share general comments about the performance of the 8 stores since rec sales began in mid-September. Did you relocate any of your stores ahead of the start of rec in the last 12 months? Assortment at your stores, if you can touch on that, and any expansion plans you may have on the cultivation side. It seems you're not able to expand based on the caps, I'm guessing, but if you can touch on that. Thank you.
Yeah, so the timing and rollout and really public awareness of adult use launching in Minnesota was unique. There was not a set start date in Minnesota where adult use would go live for all. Most states have a go live date that is understood by consumers, amplified by all stakeholders for a really robust launch. Minnesota's licensing on a rolling basis as businesses are ready. And so with that, our stores and teams have been busier these past few weeks, serving adult use customers and helping new folks interested in joining the medical program through that process. But it certainly has been a very organic spread of awareness throughout the state that AU is here, with some of the tribal stores opening, some of our med combo businesses opening. This awareness will just continue to gain momentum as days go on. As far as relocating in any of our 8 stores, we're happy with most of the locations where we've operated these past few years. We did relocate our Moorhead store to a bigger standalone site right on the Minnesota, Fargo, North Dakota border with greater access there on Interstate 94. Our first soft opening day was actually yesterday at the new store, and we're going to continue to evaluate other sites and determine where we can best serve Minnesotans as the business evolves. I think you asked about assortment at the stores. So, we carry some of the other medical combo business operators products from Rise. And we look forward to hearing other license holders products too. The Rise locations do also carry our products. So, and we strive to have an array of products and third-party brands to offer consumers, because we know that, and we all know on the call here, that a wide array of products and third-party brands, when you offer those to consumers and you have this diverse and well-balanced, menu, it's important to serving and kind of delighting your customers that you're bringing through the door. So yeah, we really look forward to engaging with other licenses, including Tribal, to ensure a robust assortment there. We do have some additional brands we're excited about bringing from our own Vireo portfolio. There were certain restrictions in the prior medical program which held us back from introducing some of these earlier, and so we're excited to bring those to market in the coming weeks, like our High AF brand, which is award-winning in Maryland, and a concentrate line we have called Kings and Queens, which we think is going to be received well by Minnesota consumers. As far as expansion, I think you'd mentioned too. I think we've talked a bit publicly about our indoor cultivation expansion underway in Elk River, Minnesota. And so in addition to our existing greenhouse facility, which we have in Otsego, the Elk River facility will allow for the 30,000 square feet of indoor canopy. And, it's our current plan to have a rolling start at that facility and turn on flower rooms as they become available to us, and are really handed off from the construction team. I don't have a specific date to share with you right now, but I can tell you the site is bustling with crews as I speak, moving that project forward.
Okay. Amber, just one more for you. I know it's going back to the regulatory side of things, but what suggestions would you have for the regulator, the OCM at present, if any?
Well, our regulators hear from a lot of industry stakeholders, and I certainly have shared our lessons learned and inputs throughout our tenure in the medical only program, and also as the state works to roll out the launch of adult use. They have the difficult task of implementing an imperfect program, which did not prioritize cultivation and manufacturing to shore up supply ahead of a launch. And I say all this and acknowledge that every state that has launched adult use has done so under imperfect conditions. So, Minnesota was unique in that it started with only 2 medical licenses for 10 years. So there was no real supply to start and support the entire adult use market. And we're handcuffed with what we can do with the supply we have. I mentioned earlier we have product on the medical side, which could be moved to adult use if allowed. And I'd love to wholesale into some of these newly licensed retailers in the state, but the limitations assessed on my license type with the medical and adult use ratio make it pretty difficult.
Right. Tim and Zach, I'm going to go on to you with a few questions here, but Jason, first, just on the subject of regulations, big picture, how you compare the reg rollout in Minnesota with other states. I know we've touched on it, but if you can expand on that. In your opinion, are the reg rules already set in stone, or do we know, or are there going to be changes, and do we know what those changes are going to be? Remind us, when is the next session of the legislature? If you can touch on some of those points. Thank you.
Sure. I think our lead legislative authors, Zach Stevenson, Lindsey Port, they've said more than once that just like there's a new alcohol bill every year, there's going to be a new cannabis bill every year. So there is plenty to tweak here. Our legislature comes back into session in February. I don't know if there's much that OCM can do on its own. They really need, if we want to improve this thing, it's going to have to come from the legislature. So they reconvene in February. And, we are all focused on cannabis every day, but they're also coming back to a legislature where the former speaker was murdered over the summer, right? So there's a bit of a chill, and I'm certain that will be addressed in some fashion, probably before all of our cannabis issues, right? And we do have a split house, meaning the GOP and the Democrats share control. So not everything will be easy to get through. It'll be interesting to see if anything gets through, but to me, I'm most concerned. I feel like we might be over the hump, I hope, on the cultivation issue, but I'm more concerned about the testing bottleneck that we're about to experience. Because at this moment, until the end of the week, we're talking about adult use cannabis, but we also are about to start licensing our entire low dose hemp-derived THC program. So every manufacturer, retailer, and wholesaler in that space will need to get a license by the end of this week. And all of that product, the low dose product, will need to be tested in the state of Minnesota, in addition to all of the adult use product. And at the moment, we only have 2 licensed labs. So, I mean, that is a bottleneck if I've ever seen one. I think that needs
And on that point, it's going to be the same labs that test hemp derivatives and cannabis, or different?
Yeah, I mean, those are the only 2 here. So we need probably 20 labs really to satisfy the need. But that's an expensive venture. It's not sexy or fun, and I don't think a lot of people are drawn to that license type. But that is going to be a major problem as of January 1st.
Right. So, but just so the rules are clear, right, and they're being implemented. There's nothing the OCM can do but implement the rules. But in your opinion, what are potential changes that could happen in the new session? And again, I know we're guessing here, or what changes would you like to see that are realistic?
Well, again, it's a 350-page bill or so, and we're only seeing sort of some of the problems as we actually start to implement the program. And certainly, the fact that we coupled the labeling and testing provisions with adult use and hemp didn't make any sense, right? Yeah, they're the same plant, but one is on Schedule 1 of the Federal Controlled Substances Act, and one is federally legal. So they shouldn't be treated the same, and currently they are. And the testing bottleneck, obviously, like I alluded to, is part of that, that grew out of that provision. So that will certainly be addressed. And I'm sure there's, lots of interest groups that are going to try to get their own pet issues through, but those seem to be things that everyone can agree on, I hope. So those would be on the top of my list. I'm a lobbyist too, and I look forward to pressing on those things.
Right. Thank you. Zach, I'm going to come back to you here. I know we touched a lot on the operating side of things already, but for example, in terms of the assortment at your stores, I'm guessing to keep the authenticity, you're going to sell only your own products, or will you also sell products from other third-party suppliers, or maybe only from other tribal nations? If you can talk about how you're thinking about the assortment at your stores, and then if you can expand a little bit in terms of your capacity, if you can talk about what is your capacity, what are your expansion plans, what type of scale are we talking about? Thank you.
So currently, the model is vertical, right? To have multiple SKUs, multiple brands, all under White Earth and Waabigwan. We're absolutely open and want to be able to carry other brands once they come into the market, whether it's tribal or non. So we're very open to that, and as some folks on here is going to say as well, you don't want to be all to all. It's not always the greatest business model, but right now we're kind of forced to be able to do that. So we hope that our products resonate in the market, and we're going to find out real quick what the market wants and what they don't want. So we're really excited for that. But yeah, absolutely, we want to be able to carry anybody's products once they're available. But as it sits right now, we got to rely on ourselves and our own ingenuity. As far as I think capacity though, currently we're growing over 1,000 pounds a month, and that's getting ready to almost double over the next 3 to 4 months. So that's all of our indoor product. We currently also have substantial acreage outdoor as well for biomass production. We won't be selling any outdoor flower as smokable, but we do have biomass available that concentrates, distillate, everything as far as byproducts that would create. We'll have to market. Right now, we just launched our vape carts. So vape carts are out under the Native Cuts brand. Very, very excited about that. We've probably got 10 or 12 different strains there, and then we've got probably 60 to 65 different genetics in-house. Right now, we're circulating through the garden, and then we also have our Sori brand, which is our gummy brand. A little play on the Minnesota accent, sorry. So very excited about it. It's been out for a couple of weeks now and just sells out every time we get it to market. So good responses right now, but yeah, absolutely looking forward to to working with others in the market.
And to be clear, in terms of the 8 stores, only one will be inside the reservation and the other 7 will be in other places, or?
Oh, actually, we have 8 off reservation and then one
Off-Reservation.
on. So the
Yeah,
one
that's what I meant. Sorry.
on, yes. So we'll have 9 in total, but 8 off of reservation. And those locations right now, one in Moorhead, one in St. Cloud.
Right.
We've got one in Chanhassen, Bloomington, East Grand Forks, and then the other 3 will be soon to come.
Yeah. Look, and Tim, the question is going to be similar for you, but just one more for you, Zach. So, like, I mean, last week I was at the St. Cloud store, and maybe I'm very ignorant here, but I was there. I guess what I'm trying to understand, does the consumer prefer to shop at tribal land stores as a way to support the tribal nations, or they are indifferent, or at the moment there's no supply, so it's like they'll go wherever there is supply? I'm just trying to understand, I don't know if I can use the word the angle here, but I mean, I myself, I went to that store. If I hadn't known anything, I wouldn't have known that it wasn't a tribal nation store. It was just a dispensary to me, but correct me if I'm wrong.
No, so all of our stores are meant to be that commercial approach. We want to have hints of native tradition and heritage and culture, but we don't want to exploit that, right? So we want to be very cognizant of how we get that branding across. But we see folks that come, on the reservation. Luckily, on reservation, we don't have to deal with any caps, right? We don't have a THC cap. It can be, we can sell products that you can't sell stateside. Still quality, right? Still tested and regulated, but we don't have the same parameters on reservations that you do off. So that's a very big component. So as a destination, yes, we absolutely want to bring people to the reservation and have that experience, but also then go into a dispensary. We want the dispensary and the staff to speak for itself, bring people in, feel inviting, and then after the fact, you find out it's a native owned, then wow, I had no idea. This is fantastic, right? I can support, I can, be a part of the cannabis movement in Indian country.
Right. Yeah, got it. Tim, similar questions for you. If you can start on the cultivation side. I know you will use the word craft, but I mean, if you can talk about scale, is it indoor, outdoor, greenhouse? If you can touch on that, and will you be in a position to supply third-party stores?
Yeah, yeah. So as far as us, since we do live soil cultivation, I like to take a different approach. I really like to push the plant, secondary metabolites. I believe that consumers are looking for the best products in cannabis now. It is a mature market outside of Minnesota, and you can statistically see that. There are the folks who purchase on price and potency. I'll let most of everybody else compete there. I want the top shelf, and that's where we really stand on. That's why we chose live soil. That's why I've been able to really push these plants and these secondary metabolites to really produce a product that's shelf appealing, eye appealing, nose appealing, and that's on brand for what we're creating. Like I said in the beginning, we don't want to be the biggest. We simply want to be the best and offer the best experience. We're doing that in our current retail location, building it throughout the infrastructure of the company, and they're going to transcend that into our multiple offsite retail locations as we continue to expand. So our outdoor and our hash labs that we did this year, absolutely amazing. The product, 100% organic, just a great shelf-ready product. Will we have it for sale this year? We're considering. We don't know if we're going to put anything into the rec market as we are building out our other retail locations right now. So a lot of emphasis is focused on our side on really being the best in all of the operations all the way through.
Right. So pretty much you're saying that you'll try to remain exclusive in terms of maybe even if you have the capacity, not supply third-party stores, but keep product into your stores to attract people to come for your product to your stores. Is that what you're saying here? I'm sorry to make you repeat something there, but yeah.
No. It's exactly what we're saying. Like I said, we plan to be a true vertical. If we can help on the outside, we will. But we're going to open up our other 8 retail compact licenses and strategic locations and put the best products for the consumers on those shelves.
Right. And what's the feedback from the consumers so far?
The consumers are just absolutely infatuated with what we're doing. The response in our retail location is you walk into a family establishment, you're greeted. The product assortment is huge that we have right now, but very finite to craft. It's a wonderful experience for the customer in our retail locations.
Right. Look, this is a very general question, and I know that maybe some of you have touched on it, but my impression was that for a market that's supposed to be so starved of supply, I didn't, see lines around the stores, right? Yes, there were people going in on a Friday or a Thursday, but there's still maybe an awareness issue. Do you agree with that, or?
Hmm. I think there's a lot of still competition with multiple markets outside the recreational
Yeah,
market that makes it intrinsically difficult because of supply challenges.
right,
But I also know this. I've worked in multiple other agencies for 20 years in jurisdictions. I've watched commoditization happen in this industry in every sector it's in. So what I mean by that is while right now we are having our kind of tightness around cultivation, as Jason alluded to, it's probably going to start loosening up relatively quick. But we'll
right,
have product. It's relatively easy to grow. It grows in proliferate with multiple other groups coming on and really expanding cultivation. I don't foresee any issues as far as supply in the not so distant future. Right now, it's tough for folks.
right.
Um, but what that leads to is a stronger presence, folks being demanding of good retail, good cultivated cannabis. So that's going to be a key for the industry as we come online here.
Right. Thank you. So, Jason, I mean, on to you now. We want to touch a little bit on the low dose hemp derivatives that you talked about. For the audience, maybe discuss the current regulatory framework in Minnesota for what we call hemp derivatives. I mean, sometimes you focus a lot in terms of the drinks, right? I mean, for the audience, you can go to a Total Wine and More store in Minnesota, and there will be a full aisle of, at least 30 brands of hemp Delta 9 drinks. But it's not just that. You also have a low dose hemp derivative. So just remind us of the framework and what's the impact that may be having on the cannabis industry right now. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll address that, but if you give me a moment to address the question you asked Tim about, you didn't see lines around the block. I mean, what I would tell our legislators, and, a lot of the Democrats maybe knew this, some of the Republicans had to learn this, but the cannabis market has existed in Minnesota for a century, right? It's just been unregulated. It's been the illicit market. And like I said, we legalized possession and consumption 2.5 years ago. So the illicit market has had a nice head start here. And it takes time to supplant that with the regulated market, right? And diverted product is coming in from Michigan, Colorado, Illinois. It's going to take some time to displace them. And every market goes through this. I think it's going to take us a little bit longer than others simply because it's so robust at the moment. But I know we're going to get there. Anyway, to your question, the hemp-derived market, yes. So we legalized a bill in 2022 that allowed everyone on earth to manufacture and sell hemp-derived THC edibles. And a lot of our microbreweries started canning them almost immediately, and it's been fascinating to watch that rollout. You can find, and the beverages really have been the thing that's taken off and become really part of our culture here in Minnesota. You can walk into any liquor store and buy hemp-derived THC beverages. It's on most menus and restaurants in the Twin Cities and available just about everywhere because, like I said, no license required. That's changing at the end of this month. So we'll see how many people choose to get a license. I heard as recently as last week, there were only 300 applications for low-dose licenses, and I imagine there are thousands of folks manufacturing and selling those products. So I think there may be some education from our regulators that a license is indeed required to stay in that market. And we'll see how many, gas stations and yoga studios buy a license. It's not expensive, but it is a process you need to go through now.
Right.
The last thing I'll say on this is that, of course, the smokables on the adult use side, they will continue to be successful. There are no smokables available on the low dose side. In my experience, and maybe the other panelists can speak to this, but it's two different consumers, and I think there is some intermix there, but it's really two different consumers, and I think they both will prosper.
Right. So just on the hemp derivatives for Zach, Tim, or Amber here, in some states we've seen some MSOs sell hemp derivatives in their stores because they are selling the same brands. It's very rare, or they are selling hemp derivatives outside their dispensaries as part of a way to generate brand awareness. How are you thinking about low dose hemp derivatives, if at all, in any way? Amber, just a short answer.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like we sell them now. We do carry some hemp-derived beverages in our retail locations, and they do help to round out those offerings to customers. Because as Jason said, it's prevalent across Minnesota. You can go into a beauty salon, you can go into a bar, you can go into a restaurant, and you can buy these products. So it is the ability to continue to offer them is important.
Right. And Zach, on the same question, or not a focus?
Yeah, no. So we have our own beverage brand as well called Minobi. So we do have the beverage side. Believe in that quite a bit. At past that, minor cannabinoid production, for formulation purposes and nutraceutical type of products, we absolutely love as well. But as far as anything else, gummy related or other form factors, we try to stay away from that as best as possible, not to confuse our clients.
Yeah. Tim, on the same question, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the low dose, much like Jason said, are two different demographics, but are kind of starting to fuse in the cannabis world. So we serve both. We have a variety of low dose products combined with our high dose recreational products to be able to serve folks in that manner.
Right. Look, before we move on, Jason, just on the hemp derivatives, besides the change that there will be testing, I mean, lab testing for low dose hemp derivatives, are there any other changes being implemented on hemp derivatives?
Yeah, I would say the big one is that you will need to, let's say you're an out-of-state manufacturer of low-dose products. You need to then now partner with a low-dose hemp edible wholesaler to get that product into Minnesota. You can't just ship it in anymore. And I noticed there's a question about whether direct-to-consumer sales will be allowed. So the days, well, at least according to OCN, the days of shipping directly to consumer through the mail or FedEx are over, because retailers under the statute must verify the recipient's age and sobriety. And obviously, if you're shipping through the mail, that's impossible. But if you arrange for a delivery, DoorDash, for example, and that delivery person can verify the age and sobriety of that person, that is possible. So it will change the market dynamics. I don't know how much it will cool out-of-state businesses' interest in serving Minnesota. I mean, we have a robust market. I imagine most folks will want to continue to serve it.
Right. And are smoke shops or vape shops being given any type of priority when they are in terms of applying for retail licenses for cannabis?
No, there's for cannabis or low?
Yeah, for cannabis. Well, I'm sorry. Let me ask the question, rephrase the question. So, first of all, and I don't know if you touched on it before, but are there going to be hemp dispensary licenses in Minnesota? I think other states are proposing that. And if not, can the smoke shops apply for cannabis retail licenses?
Yeah, anybody can apply.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but they're not
Open to
giving.
anyone.
Yeah.
And it's like I say, it's a low barrier of entry. I think it's $250 for the license, and it's not an onerous application. So
Right.
everyone selling now could continue to sell so long as they get a license.
Right. But I know you touched on the hemp on the license for, I don't know if we're referring to a license for the drinks, but the license is going to be required for hemp low dose products. Is that going to be for everything or just for drinks?
For everything, for the edibles.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm a smoke shop, I need to have a license.
Low dose hemp edibles, for
Whatever.
better or worse, has sort of become shorthand for beverages here, just because they are so much more popular than everything else.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just look, moving on. I know we're going to be running out of time. Just some questions on the medical market. Tim, I'll start with you, but I don't know if you're involved in the medical market in any way, and if you can touch on the differences in state taxes between the medical market and the rec market. And if that doesn't apply to you, I'll bring in Amber here. But
Yeah, I bet we don't operate in the medical. We're currently only in the rec market right now.
Okay. Amber, sorry, any differences in taxes on the medical and rec side?
Yeah, certainly. So, serving medical patients is extremely important to us. It's why we started and why we're here in the first place. And, ultimately, right now, today, medical patients can come and visit us or the other med combo business, Rise. But med patients should have additional options for them. Anyone is able to apply for a med endorsement. And so we look forward to, again, like there just being a broader service of the 64,000+ med patients in the state and growing. And part of that, as you mentioned, taxes, like AU is being taxed at 15%. So that certainly has pushed some consumers who are coming into our stores now and buying AU for the first time to kind of raise their eyebrows, inquire about that. It is a higher tax rate. And also it's inquiring with us about joining the medical program then, because the state has made it, easier, more accessible for folks to join the medical program. There is no tax. As an example, you can get higher potency products through the med program. So I think that's how we're addressing it today.
Right. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but to my knowledge, there's no new licenses for medical stores. So we'll only have the 16, the 8 from you and the 8 from Rice, or will there be licenses for new licenses for medical dispensaries?
I mean, Jason can tag team with me here, but there is an ability for folks who perhaps have a micro business license to apply for a medical endorsement, which would allow them to, sell medical products as well. To my knowledge, there aren't any folks in the state yet who currently have received a medical endorsement.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that either. I know there's some interest there, but I haven't heard of the first one getting issued.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Look, I know we're going to be running out of time here, but I guess I want to read some questions here I'm getting through the email, but and I know we touched on it. Anyone can chip in, but Zach and Tim, I'll start with you guys. But I mean, what message I'm paraphrasing, what message would you have for the regulator, or what would you like in a realistic world the regulator to change, or the legislature to change? Zach, just short answers.
Clarity, right? That's always a very key factor in business strategy and understanding what you're doing to execute. So a little more clarity, a little more transparency. I think transparency is a very big thing that the state has not been clear on with multiple scenarios and situations, but those two things are very key to making sure this market stays healthy. It's not a race to the bottom, and businesses can succeed and not trip over each other.
All right, Tim, on the same topic.
Yeah, the transparency one that Zach hit on, big. That's always big. But what I encourage right now is we are the 33rd, 39th state. So there is a lot of regulatory backlog to look at. So I encourage regulators to look, copy and make better. So you have a lot. We have multiple other states to look at it as regulators. Look what they've done. Copy and make better for your citizens of Minnesota. Be more transparent.
Right. Amber, look, I'm paraphrasing again, but and you answer how you can, but someone is saying, every state, there's always a different type of relationship between the medical incumbents as they migrate to a rec market and the regulator. Some states it's been very collegial, some states it's been more confrontational, like maybe New York. Where would you put Minnesota there? How would you characterize the relationship? I know, just in terms of what you can share, just big picture.
Yeah, I think the regulator, OCM, our new regulator now, it's a newer office, newer teammates. They continue to hire out folks. We're getting to know their new inspectors and the folks that our day-to-day people work closely with. We always try and share our lessons learned with our regulators as they're starting up and having an open relationship with them. But it's as open as you have with a regulatory body, right? They are, at the end of the day, my regulator. And it's not this tight, cozy relationship, right? It's like they have a job of kind of governing and regulating us, and we have a job of running a compliant, business. But for the most part, I know those folks over at OCM are trying to do their best in this emerging market.
Right. Jason, someone is asking me, I know this call is about Minnesota, but your views in terms of what may happen in Wisconsin in terms of cannabis with some proposals there. Just a short answer.
Can I break the rules again and just
please
circle back to one thing I'd like to see? So we have a 2-page true party of interest statutory provision that I know was well-intentioned, but it is so confusing. You're asking about our wish list. I would love more clarity on that. And I think as we get into this, our social equity applicants, I think, are feeling like they are really constrained in terms of the amount of capital they can raise because they have to remain a 65% owner. And I understand why that was done. It's designed to protect people, but it is to the extent that there's any investment opportunity at all that is really constraining them from raising money. And also, I'll leave it there. Turning to Wisconsin, yes, very exciting.
And sorry, just on that point, I'm looking here at the OCM page. It says, for the retailer license, 150 cap, right? 75, 75. There's been 506 social equity applications, and 121 have already been withdrawn, which I guess confirms what you are saying.
It's hard enough to make it in this business. It's extra hard when you're hamstrung by the social equity constraints.
Right.
And like I said, I know the predatory practices that have gone on in other places, but what I'm hearing from the social equity community is that please loosen it up because it's hard to make it with these constraints.
Right. Yeah.
Turning to Wisconsin. Yes, exciting stuff. A medical cannabis bill has been introduced. It certainly has support in the Wisconsin Senate. There was a hearing on it last week. The Assembly remains the hurdle, and in particular, Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. It's really all up to him. If he says thumbs up, then it will pass. So we are looking to him to support this. We're hopeful he will. We're trying to gently apply some political pressure to him through the Wisconsin Wellness Campaign that frankly is comprised largely of the Wisconsin Native American tribes who would love to have the ability to allow their members to benefit from medical cannabis. I mean, obviously, we know about the problems in tribal nations. And it's seen that medical cannabis is real medicine that actually help a lot of afflictions that hurt everybody, right? But even people on tribal nations. So I'm optimistic that bill will move. I think it's the first time ever that it has a real chance. So the Wisconsin legislative process is a bit Byzantine, but it's got some movement. It's got some momentum. We're starting to see letter writing campaigns get underway, and I'm hopeful that it will pass.
Right. Thank you. Look, again, I'm paraphrasing here different questions I'm getting, but for both of you, Zach and Tim, someone is asking, at the end of the day, what advantages or benefits are really being given to the tribal nations? It's like, it sounds like they're just another applicant that managed to get a license. But I mean, you have the right to get 8 stores and you don't have a cap on cultivation. I think there are some advantages there, right? But I don't know if you want to expand on that, Zach, in terms of I don't know if the word is, I don't want to paraphrase too much in terms of what the question is, but if you can give I don't know if the word is preferential treatment, but if someone is expecting some, are you really getting that or not, in your opinion, Zach?
Had this conversation a ton going through, compacting, and I would say no, right? And the reason I say that is because, no offense to any other tribe, and Tim knows this firsthand, it is extremely hard. Amber, you know this as well, but it is the most difficult thing to start a cannabis company, especially if you're talking about being vertical. So to do what White Earth has done in this short period, and then you look at other tribes and the distance between the two as far as volume, infrastructure, ready to market, it's extremely tough. So, you see companies right now that are poised to be opened, if not opening retail, hopefully having their own cultivations opened in the next 3 to 5 months. A 6-month headway, it doesn't mean a whole lot in a market this big. And then when you look at caps, 8 dispensaries, no different than the medical. As far as it being recreational, yeah, there's absolutely that. That's good negotiating, right? That's just good business. But at the end of the day, I think the tribes that can take advantage, hopefully they do, and they can succeed in it. But past that, it's few and far between. The market's going to dictate who wins and who loses ultimately anyway.
Yeah. Tim, same question?
Yeah, I would generally, overall, there's been no advantage given to the tribes. It's down and dirty, roll up your sleeves and build a business. And you better know what you're doing to be successful and to negotiate the oncoming complexities in the cannabis industry. So, yeah, it takes a strong will and strong desire to do that. I really applaud the Fond du Lac and their approach to the industry. And like Zach, I would agree that, the tribal nations, if anything, should and deserve more attention in this industry. And there's been no statistical advantage in the rollout of the industry in Minnesota for tribes.
Okay, I know we're out of time here. My apologies to the audience if we didn't read all of your questions, but I think we tried to get through as many as we could. Again, thank you very much to our speakers. Of course, we're all learning about the Minnesota market, very exciting market, and just starting in a way, right? Although it started in phases, as Jason said. Let's start with closing remarks. Tim, I'll start with you. But thank you again for joining us today. Tim.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see everybody else on the panel, and thanks to all the listeners. Closing remarks, keep your eye on the industry. Understand where the industry is going here. Consumers are going to have a plethora of choices coming up in 26 as far as opportunities for cannabis, both recreational and medical. And I expect the industry to, have its continual ebbs and flows and ups and downs as the new market kind of continues its inceptionary wave.
Yeah. Zach?
No, appreciate your time and everybody on the panel, and no, very excited to keep moving the needle here in the state. Very excited to keep putting good quality products out here as well. And same thing, just very excited for Indian country and all tribes and cannabis consumers in the state as a whole. So very excited to be a part of it, and excited to see it, watch it grow.
Right. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, I think 2026 will be the real year that Minnesota launches. I'm hoping we have the worst of the hiccups behind us, and I'm sure President Trump is listening to this. So if the rumors are true, sir, please use the power of the executive order and reschedule cannabis to Schedule 3 where it belongs, because that will help everyone in this industry. It won't solve all the problems, but boy, I hope those rumors are true.
Amber, and before our closing remarks from Amber, we publish research on Vireo growth. It's available on our website, or you can email me if you want to get more information. But we have reports on Vireo growth, and we're very happy to cover the company. Amber, closing remarks. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Pablo. I think, from our perspective, the tide raises all ships here. And so it starts with, assembling thought leaders and stakeholders like those you have on this call. Jason knows deeply about what's going on in the state with other social equity licenses and others. We just think a really kind of prolific, robust, competitive and cooperative market is going to be good for all Minnesota citizens. So we look forward to the day when that when the market ultimately evolves there. Thanks again for having us.
Right. Thank you very much to our speakers, and thanks to everyone that was listening via X and other platforms. Thank you very much. Everyone have a good day. Thank you.